Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy-nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks for joining us. It's Jennifer Rogers Markwell, and you're joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. I'm joined by Christina Sommers today. Hey, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so big question I always ask is tell us about who you are and why you do what you do.
So, as you said, my name is Christina. I'm a podcast host of Loving Your Life Again and co-authored a book called Ignite Your Courage. And the reason I started this journey is my passion is to help other women coming out of toxic relationships, essentially using my story of where I came from to where I'm at now and continuing to grow, to almost shine a light that there is hope. You can find peace and joy, no matter what circumstances you are coming out of, to heal, grow, and truly love your life and find joy in the journey.
Are you open to sharing your journey overall?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to kind of start at the end and then jump back to the beginning. So I didn't realize that I was in a toxic relationship until after I left it and I started on my healing journey. So my relationship was never great, but we were surviving. And then I was in a head-on collision in 2016. And in that head-on collision, afterwards, as I was recovering, my husband's drug addiction came back in full force. And it went from not only having a very toxic relationship of, if you look through the criteria of narcissistic tendencies, he check, check, check. I didn't even know that was a thing at the time. So those behaviors on top of the addiction turned my home into a very volatile place. I longed for nothing but peace and joy, and I found everything but. It was like in order to have peace from the outside looking in, I had to stifle my own peace. And I realized after the fact, I lost myself in that journey. So it went from, as I was recovering, things got very volatile in my house. I noticed the addiction was there, but I didn't realize how bad it was. And then we were going through something and I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And I was finally starting to get my bearings about myself. So in the accident, I lost the ability to walk for 4 months. I was non-weight bearing. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn to drive, really gain back all my independence. Once I got that all back, because during that time, I couldn't take care of myself fully and completely. So I kind of needed that support. Once I was able to get out on my own, I decided I was going to leave. As I was making the plans to leave, my ex's father had passed away. And I thought to myself, what kind of wife would I be if I left my husband right after his dad died? So I'm like, okay, maybe this will fix things. Maybe this will change things. So through some conversations, we ended up moving to a different town. And he was like, oh, moving to a different town, this will fix everything. I won't be around the supplier anymore. That didn't happen. It made it worse. And then we moved further away. So at first we just moved an hour and a half more. Then we moved states. And then it progressively got even worse. So I was deciding on what the best options were to do. Because every time, that whole walking on eggshells, I had to pick my battles. I had to be careful about what I said, how I said it. If he wanted money for something, it was like, what do you want it for? He would have a lot. I was trying to put boundaries up so he couldn't take so much. But even then, it was pick your battles and either have a fight or deal with enable. So I also identified as a Christian and I was listening to all the sermons, but it was every time I decided it was time to leave, I would hear a message on like the sanctity of marriage, or I'd hear somebody's testimony about how God saved somebody else's husband and healed their addiction. I'm like, oh, if he can do it for him, they can do it for me. So I was praying, I was doing all the things I wanted. Again, I wanted to be a good Christian wife. I wanted to lead by example. Um, I was praying through everything. And the more I did, the more volatile the relationship became, the more tumultuous, I guess, my house would become. And there was one day I literally cried out and I was like, God, you can heal him. I know you can. You can heal us. You can heal this, whatever this is going on. I know you can. Why won't you? And I felt deep in my spirit, um, the response of, yes, I can, but he has to want it. I can't force him. And it was like, that was almost like release number one. Okay. That was almost God confirming that it was okay to leave. And then there was a particular scripture that was keeping me stuck too. And that was where it says God hates divorce. Like, well, if God hates divorce, what does that mean about me? Like, would God hate me? And I was making it very personal along those lines. And then I happened to find an article come across my path that explained the purpose of that verse being there. And it was because so many men at the time were leaving their wives for no reason. And because of the time frame, women were being left destitute. They couldn't take care of themselves. They relied on their husbands. So that's why that verse was in there. So then it was like, oh, that doesn't pertain to what I'm going through. That was like release number 2. Yeah. And then 3, I wanted my daughter to have her father in her relationship. And from the outside looking in, they looked like they had an amazing relationship. They always got along. Um, if they were like picking, they would always pick on me, like teaming up with each other, like, and fun. So I thought they had a really good relationship. And then there was one day when the worst fight we had in a very, very long time. She was standing across the way and I saw her face just that, like, she was wearing a mask, not literally, but like, how you put masks on to cover up. And I saw it crack just a little bit. I saw the pain on her face and I said, oh no, my daughter's not going to be hurt by this anymore. So that's where I made the decision of saying, okay, it's time to go. We came to a decision. I asked him to leave. Um, because of his addiction, essentially, I gave him money and he left. So he really chose his addiction over his family. And, everything happens for a reason. After that, I thought when he left, I would have nothing but peace and joy in my life. And after he left, I found I kept myself super incredibly busy. But then when I would stop, it was like all the thoughts, all the lies, all the words that were said to me over the years just came flooding back. And then I realized too, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I didn't like. Um, I was the heaviest I had ever been from the accident. It was like my mobility was very limited because I was physically unhealthy. So I started the journey by first like moving, then went into cleaning up my nutrition a bit. And then I came across like meditation and then um tapping and then like energy type work and then breath work and journaling and all the different tools that I incorporate in my daily life. And now that I want to share with anybody else who can benefit from it. I was just barely surviving everyday life, just barely making it through to I can truly say right now, I love my life. I enjoy even in the hard days, like joy is a choice. And when I heard that at first, like when I first started, somebody would say that, and I'm like, that's a lie. No, it's not. Are you kidding me? Look at all the reasons why it's not. And now I can see from the opposite side, it's the way you look at things. It's the way you perceive things. And even in the hardest of hards, you can still choose joy despite the hard. And that will help you get through to the other side.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, I think sometimes stepping back and out and learning to love yourself in a beautiful way sometimes is a hard journey, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, it is. And you don't realize how many limiting beliefs, how many lies that you've been told, whether from a little child, whether from um, schoolmates, whether from society, whether from loved ones, whether it's a partner or friendships, um, coworkers, bosses, like all those things that people tell you, you don't know how your subconscious grabs onto it, holds onto it, and then will continue to cycle it through to almost keep the intention, like your brain is meant to keep you safe.
From seeds planted in your life to how you react to things, truly to money memories, which
Mhm.
is, something that obviously we talk about here on this podcast is what's a money memory that you had as a younger, version of yourself that helped mold your relationship to money as an adult?
So my parents divorced when I was 4. My mom, I remember, always worked 2 jobs. She always made sure she did, she kept the best she could with the roof over her head. Like, we always had a decent place to live. We always had a safe place to live. Um, and then, but I remember stories of like when we went grocery shopping. This is all we have to get through the week. This is all we have to get through the week. Um, and it was stuff that it was more of the extra things. So it was stuff we probably shouldn't have had anyways, but it was our little treats. But it was always almost like that lack mentality, or we always had. And I think this is a good thing to do anyways, but when you look at it from a parent who's struggling, but this is how much you have to get whatever school clothes or whatever um, school supplies or whatever you need. Um, there was always almost like that limit, and you could almost see the stress on her face of trying to make it work, trying to give us everything that she possibly could, but having that limit of how much she actually had available to work for her. And then when we would visit with my dad would always like point fingers. Well, I would have more if I didn't have to pay your mom child support, and I would have more if I didn't have to, and I would have more if I didn't have to. So it was like those little stories of they were struggling, but they did the best they could with what they had. So I think I still have that. You have to work really hard to make any kind of ends meet. You have to work really hard um to just barely have enough.
Hmm. Do you feel that you kind of still kind of resonate with that, or have you changed the narrative for yourself individually?
I'm in the process of changing the narrative. I find there are times that that money story will still creep in from now and then if I'm not aware. So, like, for example, when presented with something new, can I do this? Do I have enough to do this? Is this like, do I need to stock it away? Or um, almost like that frugal mentality. Well, I really need, let's say, it's not even a need. I really would like new running shoes. Well, workout shoes. I don't run, but workout shoes. I'd like new sneakers to go to work out in. But do I have enough? Do I have enough? Can I splurge on that? Well, maybe I should save that for something else.
You are listening to the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
Hey, it's Jennifer. I wanted to take a quick break to remind you that you are worthy to have a seat at the table when it comes to money and your finances. We, both me and my team at Platinum Wealth Management, want to meet you where you are, whether you're starting out, starting over, or have been investing for years. Reach out to us at platinumwealth.net or call us at 775-717-0001. We'd be honored to help.
And now, back to the podcast.
So it's that duality of you want to make sure that you're making wise decisions, but at the same time, if you need something new and you have the money to get it, like get it. You don't need to sacrifice everything all the time.
I think finding the balance there, and I think most people are a work in progress by all means, but I think if you can kind of really look back and realize where that initial money memory came from and is it serving you now, and then pivoting if you need to, and if not, then just changing the narrative, best to serve you. I think that's
Yeah,
huge.
absolutely. And I
Um,
think key a lot of times is identifying that story. Sometimes that story is so hidden and you don't realize it's there.
oh my gosh, so much so. And I shared with you before, this is exactly why I launched this podcast, right? Because that money memory story was a common thread amongst everyone that I talked to, every client, everyone across the board. And everyone's is different, But that truly tees up to how they have a relationship with money as an adult, whatever they experience as a child or growing up, or whatever initial, psychological money memory that they can go back to when they think about it. And I've had so many aha moments where people are like, I had no idea. And they're like, oh, I totally remember what my money memory was, and talking it through and just, again, just realizing and understanding. And does it serve you now?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing we talk about are financial infidelities, which, can be a big, hairy, scary word by all means. What's a financial infidelity that you've either experienced or you've witnessed that you think others listening could learn from?
So going back to my relationship when I was married to my husband, it was one of those. I was the one who always worked, and he was the one who always spent. So money was always a big source of contention between us because it would be like he would want to do something, and I'm like, but we have fill in the blank. And then there were many times that I didn't realize at the time the way I set up my account, he had access to my account. And so he would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get money for whatever." And I'm like, "No, don't. That's set aside for whatever reason." And then there was one day I checked my account and he had taken like $400 out of the account. And I'm like, "How did that even happen?" So it was one of those things that I had to make sure I went to the bank to make sure he was taken off of everything so he couldn't go and essentially steal money from me. Like, yeah, you're married. Is it joint money? Well, one, he never earned any of it. Like, he didn't work at all. He was just taking, and it was set aside for something else. And not like, I don't want to make it sound like he needed permission, but that was a large sum of money at the time that was set aside for particular bills that he went and spent on drugs. So I'm like, okay, now where's the bill money gonna come from? How are we gonna pay this? So it was always something along those lines where I was always trying to make sure, being a responsible adult, the needs were covered first. And he would always pull out of it and say, "Oh, we'll figure it out later. Oh, we'll figure it out later. Oh, we'll figure it out later."
So it was always a battle. I mean, it sounds like financially in your world.
Yes. Oh, most definitely. And if I told him, if he like tried to get permission and ask for money for something, I knew what it was for, but he would never tell me what it was for. And if I had to be careful with words because if I came too accusatory, it would turn into a fight. Um, so I would start asking better questions and then saying, okay, well, if I give you this, then you need to make sure you give me the receipts. If you don't give me the receipts, like, come up with consequences, trying to establish those boundaries, trying to establish a good foundation for us to work off of and not have so much contention over it. And it continuously cycled to get worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't trust anything that he ever said.
Oh, wow. Well, gosh, thanks for sharing that too. And in, a lot of relationships, I always share, communication is obviously so, so important, but it sounds like communication was not even an option in your situation.
Right, right. Communication, yeah, absolutely 100%. Communication is key, and it takes two to communicate, right? So you one have to be able, when you're in a healthy relationship, you have that trust. You can trust each other. That's one of the things that when you realize you're in a toxic relationship, you realize one of the things is you can't trust your partner because whether they're actually lying to you or certain behaviors or manipulation or like a variety of different things. But yeah, that trust factor is critical. And if you don't have trust, do you have a good relationship?
Yeah, no, very, very, very valid point for sure. Well, as we, start to kind of wrap things up, one thing I like to always ask is, what are tips and or tricks that you use, especially now, right, in your new world, to utilize money differently in your own household?
So um one of the things that I do right now is when I'm looking at time versus money. So there's certain things, for example, like lawn care. For the longest time I said I'm not going to pay for lawn care. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. But it takes me like 4 hours to do my lawn. Well, what else could I be doing to build my business and potentially bringing new income in with that time versus paying somebody like $80 to do it, right? So it's that time versus money. If you have the extra few dollars to pay another, even small business owner to help them grow within their community and further prosper the community, so you can focus on whatever you need to build on your own, look at and see if that makes sense to you versus, you know what, I can't afford that. Immediately, I can't afford that. Because sometimes by investing in one area, you'll benefit more in another.
I was actually having this conversation with someone the other day, ironically. It's really knowing, your worth. Not
Yeah.
that anybody's worth is better than anybody else's, but if you're looking and kind of backing into what is my hourly worth that what's my time worth in essence, right? Like, let's figure that out. What's that dollar amount? And everybody's is different across the board. But really, if your value is this, and then you're paying someone else to do another service for you, not only are you helping them and sharing that, but that's helping you to be more creative during that time frame, like that 4 hours that you said. What could you do in that 4 hours, whereas someone else is, doing some lawn care and helping you out on that side of things? You're not only helping them, they're helping you, but then you can take that time to be much more productive as well. And I think it's a different way because it's an exchange of not only money, but energy. You're helping someone else out, but in turn, like, you're helping yourself out to be more productive as well.
Mhm. And like for me personally, though I love being outside, I love being in nature, I hate doing lawn stuff. I absolutely hate it. And how much better is it to give somebody, like the person who does my lawn absolutely loves it. It lights him up. If I didn't give him the opportunity to do my lawn, like I'm stealing joy from him and torturing myself. Like, so yeah, it's that energy as well as money, as well as building up your community.
Well, thank you so much for sharing today. And those of you listening or watching, thank you for joining us on the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. And hopefully you will see us again and join us again very soon.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.